Hello and welcome to another episode of NRG Insights. For those that don't know, this is a podcast based on useful people in the industry, in the mortgage industry, whether that be from lending, broking, or any kind of ancillary products or services. So today I've got the original podcast guest with me, Martin Stewart from London Money. Thank you for joining me, Martin.
Absolute pleasure, Marcus. Thank you for having me back. That either means things are going really well or really badly.
Really badly, yeah. You literally got to the bottom of the pile and everyone's...
I'm here to give you a lift. Put you back up on the podium.
Well, I appreciate that. I actually tell people that you are my reality check sometimes when I think things are going well. I love to give you a call, make sure I can put my feet back on the ground. But for those that don't know you, Martin,
sorry, mate.
For those that don't know you, just tell us a little bit about your financial services journey to where you are now as MD of London Money.
Yeah, it's probably started like many other dinosaurs of my generation. A lot of this industry came out of direct sales of the big insurance companies from 25, 30 years ago. You might remember them, the Allied Dunbar, the General Portfolio.
I don't remember them, no, because I'm only young.
Yeah, of course you are. Other people will remember them, but there were the big insurance companies where 21-year-old kids who had nothing else to do got a white shirt, a red tie and a PVC briefcase, and suddenly they were financial advisors. And there were hundreds of thousands of us marauding around the country, recommending pounds to friends and family in their living room after EastEnders. That's pretty much the foundation of our industry today, came out of that. And I was one of those young kids trying to make a way and a living back then when nobody wanted to speak to us, which is quite interesting. I was speaking to someone the other day who kind of their career ran parallel with mine, and we were sort of saying it's funny that 25 years ago no one wanted to speak to us. There was more financial advisors than there were consumers. Suddenly we're the other way now, and it's hardly any financial advisors, and the whole country wants to speak to us. So anyway, that's where my career started. That it eventually evolves over time. The industry cleaned up, regulation came in. I became an IFA with mediocre results. That really wasn't my forte. I'm not really a technical person, and the IFA job is a very technical job. And then from there, kind of evolved into mortgage broking because nobody wanted to do mortgages back in 1998. So I took that role within the office, and then that became my speciality. Before you know it, you've done 20 years in broking. The recession came along.
Stuck on someone's podcast.
Exactly, yeah, talking about the good old days. The recession came along in 2008. That was obviously very detrimental to the mortgage broking market as a whole. I made the decision at that point, you either sort of stick or twist. The twist would have been to go off and do it on my own rather than working under a network or a national. And that's where London Money came out of, just that kind of, well, if I don't do it now, when will you do it? And I see these conversations a lot on LinkedIn. If you don't do it now, don't wait for that perfect time.
Yeah.
It never arrives, does it?
I always liken it to having children. We'll have kids once this is out. We'll do it. There's never a perfect time to do anything.
No, unless you're Rod Stewart, and it doesn't really matter. You can have them in your 80s. But no, it's a good analogy. There is never a perfect time. Don't assume that there will be, because when that perfect time comes, you might not be ready for it yourself. So you've just got to crack on and do it. And that's what happened in 2010, 2011. Set it up, which arguably is probably the best time to do it. And again, anyone who's thinking about maybe going out on their own now, do it when you're on your uppers, because anything thereafter is going to feel like some sort of success. Don't do it when you're at the top or at the peak. Do it when you're in the troughs at the bottom. And it was a slow start, as it was for everyone back in 08, 09, 10, and it wasn't probably really till about 15 or 16 that the market really began to turn around. And we've reached the stage now with 12 brokers. That's a good medium-sized brokerage firm which you can run relatively easily without having to over-manage it and over-compliance it. And
it's funny you say that about 12 brokers being sort of medium, because it is right. Like, there's not many big mortgage brokers, because it gets tough, doesn't it? There's different levels, and it does get tough a bit higher. I always speak to people who want to set up and have 20 brokers, and I'm like, I name one. You know what I mean? Name one that you would aspire to be like, because there's not many.
It's one of the existential threats to the industry that you need to be aware of, that it's virtually impossible to scale. It's very easy to be a one-man band, maybe 2 or 3. Very hard to go to 100, 200, unless you're going to go down that network route.
Type thing, yeah.
And then in between, there's just lots of yo-yoing where people are suddenly there one day with 30, but then down to 20. So, and you'll notice in your day job, Marcus, that it's recruiting's one half of the job, retention's the other half of the job, and you've got to get both right. Otherwise, you're just going to be in that death spiral.
How have you done that? How do you think? Because all your guys have been with you a long time, haven't you? How do you think you nailed the retention side of things?
That's a really good question. It is because there'll be a number of reasons for it. One will be growing organically tends to be better than trying to shoot for the stars, throw loads of mud at the wall, and very few of it sticking. So,
do you know what? Actually, I was speaking to a guy yesterday. I was up in London, and it was a new client meeting, and they were saying we're getting investment to grow, and I was like, okay, but what are you spending that on? Because apart from marketing, you don't really, if we're only finding you one good person at a time, right? We're not putting 10 people in because there's not 10 good people. So don't go out and look for loads of funding to get a lot of people in, because there's actually no real benefit to getting yourself in that sort of debt, unless you're spending on marketing and you need lead gen and that kind of thing. But
people forget that growing exponentially from a head count also grows the problems exponentially, and they're not ready for that, I generally find. You're better off growing.
Well, no, because most of them are most of them aren't managers previously as well, are they? They're mortgage brokers. So actually, that extra 10 headaches, you don't realise how much more of a headache that is.
As an industry, we're very poor managers, and that generally, that's probably one of the other reasons why the sector doesn't grow particularly well, because we don't know how to do it. We don't know how
do you think that's just because most of us haven't come from a corporate background where we had a management structure? Because you get guys coming out of banks that are okay, it's very different running a small business than it is to running a bank.
It's a lone wolf industry. Very fragmented, very disenfranchised, very one man in his shed kind of arrangement.
Do you think that's getting better though? I do feel like people are getting closer.
It will get better when you get rid of my generation.
Nearly there. How long we got?
We are that generation, as I said. We were the first ones, boots on the beach back in 1991, and and part of the problems of the industry now are our fault, because we didn't really set the industry up very well at the start. We just kept going to get through.
I think it was more that there was a low bar to get in, and there was no real need to increase the bar. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that's the people in it. Like you're not gonna try and increase something where there's no real need to, because you're still flogging mortgages, aren't you? It's not. But I know what you mean. It's a strange standard in the industry.
Yeah, the whole thing could do with a bit of a reset and do it properly. And the problem is that because we didn't really address some things earlier on, then we end up like that lender system that actually we'll just stick a plaster on it to get through another 12 months, rather than just rebuild the system, make it fit for purpose, and give it. Do you
not feel like the consumer duty and that kind of thing is edging towards that, or is it just another ball ache that people forget about in a short space of time? Or I think they're trying. That's what my point is.
Listen, we shouldn't ever whinge about regulation. It's there for a reason. It's the price to be able to trade on a daily basis. That's all regulation is. You shouldn't be scared of it. If you're scared of it, then maybe you're the regulator. So yes, it is a ball ache. We have to tick the boxes. The moral compass sometimes of certain parts of the industry or society as a whole. You're never going to be able to address all of it, Marcus. There's always going to be rotten apples at every level, in every sector, in every part of society. So we have to absorb that. But the risk with compliance is it becomes the lowest common denominator, and the assumption is that we're all bad apples. And that's, I think if the regulator maybe focused a bit more on quality control rather than process, we could probably dilute and tone down some of the compliance. But so that point,
it's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? Like a process is not. How would you improve the process? Like how do you? Because that's a compliance issue, isn't it? It's just
process actually isn't really the problem. Process is the result of the advice process. That
Right.
you see a client, you put the client on the conveyor belt, and you go through various stages towards the end. But if you get that very first bit wrong, if the person that's giving that recommendation is wrong, then the process is wrong.
Yeah.
It's that there's a very good sketch that Peter Cook once did on Clive Anderson's show, and his job was he was a biscuit taster. That was his job. And Clive Anderson said, well, what does that involve? He goes, well, I sit in a conveyor belt, and then I'll taste the biscuit. If that biscuit is all right, I'll let another 4 million go through.
Yeah.
That is compliance.
Yeah.
That's regulation. Okay, so we're never going to be able to make that a perfect process where every biscuit tastes good. Mm-hmm. But we can maybe work a little bit more on the front of house side of things, whereby we can remove certain aspects of the culture of the industry.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be a bad start, I don't think.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, how do you see the next year or so? Like I said, I don't think. Do you know what? Just so people know, I cocked up this about 20 times trying to start this podcast. So I don't know what we've talked about and what we hadn't off of air because we were trying to do it for so long. But I was saying that you're my kind of barometer for if I'm overly positive, because I'm naturally overly positive. And I remember we had a conversation in 2003. When was the trust effect? October 23.
23, yeah.
I think we were talking at the end of the summer, and you were saying, it's going to be tough, and I was like, I just can't. I just think I'm so bullish that we are going to have a big year, and I'm chuck all my money at it and get the AI and automation stuff sorted, which we did, but we didn't make any money. You were right, but having said that, we could have predicted the trust effect when we spoke because it was the summer. But how do you feel it's going now after that? I mean, that was fucking horrible for everyone, right? But how do you feel we're pulling out of it now?
Well, look, I'm at heart very much a glass half full person. I know that doesn't always come across because what I'll do.
I know genuinely, you joke the other way. I know that. I know, your pessimism is your comedy value. But there, I know.
Yeah. But I'm a very positive person at heart and in general. But you have to be a realist. There's no point pretending everything's great if it's not. You've got to say what you see. So when we went into this trustonomics era, which is the latest catastrophe to hit the industry, the naivety of some brokers was it'll be fine in 3 months' time. Mm-hmm. Well,
and some recruiters, some recruiters are naive as well.
Clearly, even back then, it was obviously going to be a 3-year journey as we went all the way down, bounced along the bottom, and that's where I think we are today. I think we're bouncing on the bottom. And
we're not going any further down, though, are we?
Well,
I can't afford to. So
you'd like to think not, and I hope not, but I don't think we will. I think we're bouncing on the bottom now. What's different now, Marcus, is that we're not having the same conversations we had with clients 2 years ago, where they're going to jump off the bridge because the mortgage is going to double overnight. Everybody now knows what the cost of borrowing is.
Do you know what? I would say that. Like, we don't need it to be cheap money. We just need to be consistent, so people can work out what they need to do.
Borrow sensibly, yeah. So I don't think we're not going to zip up tomorrow. We're not going to do 100% return tomorrow. But I think we'll begin to claw back now. I think everything's baked in, bar a asteroid or visitation from the aliens, which are the only two things that have on the mortgage bingo list yet. We'll be all right. And do you know what? The demand is there.
Do you know what? I did. Yeah, exactly that. Demand is there. We've got to build houses. Whether you like the Labour government or not, they have said we are going to smash this house building quota, which is going to bring more money in as well, right? Institutional money looks at that and goes, oh God, we want to be part of that. So hopefully that does push the market. But I mean, I'm always positive every year, but I just feel like we haven't had a good run at it. I can't remember the last time I had a good 2-year run at
it. You don't. If you layer it, it's been a disaster in some way, shape or form since 2007. We've had lots of problems along the way. And
do you know what someone said this to me the other day? He goes, did you get that nice 2001, 2007 bit? I said, no, I was actually a bricklayer.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly.
I was in the Marines, I got thrown out, and then I was a builder. And then I actually went into commercial finance in 2007. That was my biggest pay packet I ever got. And I was like, shit, this is it now. I've made it. And then 2008 came and I went, oh, that was 1 year of good money. and I've never earned as much as I did in 2007.
that 0107 was the sweet spot. There was mortgages weren't regulated until 05. There was an explosion of cash from the banks. It was a dash for intermediation.
It was unregulated.
Everything kind of worked, and then that's when you should start to think, well, hang on, wait a minute. When it's going too well, let's start planning for maybe when it wouldn't.
So hard to plan for the shit times when it's going well, isn't it? Because you don't want to plan to fail. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think that it's really hard to go, what if next year it's rubbish? And also we couldn't have predicted what if the next 15 years is rubbish. Like, you can't do that.
What's different now, Marcus, is, and this is credit to the industry and brokers as a whole, is that I think the lenders have ceded all the ground to us now. I just cannot see a way that the lenders will ever be able to claw back significant market share, even on the assumption that they want it, and I don't think they really do. Okay, so
a couple of them are going back, aren't they, to dual pricing and that kind of thing? But
they might have a go with PTs on using IT, and who knows where AI will go in the long run. But this is now very much a £300 billion industry with 15,000 gatekeepers, which are the mortgage brokers. So that's really nuts, is our field. So it's up to us really to make the most of that. Mm-hmm. And if we keep getting continual failures through various cycles, then that's on us. We'll have no one else to blame. The consumer needs to speak to us, all 10 million of them. The 80 lenders want to lend through us. We're the ones with CMAT. We're here. We've got it made. And so it's up to us to make sure that perfect environment, we don't waste it.
Yeah. And how, if you're like if there is someone looking, or it resonates with them about starting a new business, what do you, what's the recommendations you can give? It's very different because your business has been for a long time, but you must have gone through those different teething problems as you go.
What if I was setting a brokerage up today?
Yeah.
Well, there is an argument. If I was going to do it again, I might just stay a one-man band.
Do you know what's really interesting? And I want to go through this as well. I know how we can be open and honest about kind of legacy and that kind of thing, but I've never made more money not being a one-man band. Never made more, personally, like salary-wise. However,
I'm just going to hold that thought while I plug my laptop in.
Yep. I'm going to turn my aircon down.
Edit that bit out.
Yeah, 17 minutes. I have to clap when they hear it. No, don't do it anymore.
What was
I saying?
Oh yeah, about one-man band. So
I've never made as much, but I also don't want to be on the phone when I'm 80. So there has to be a legacy. And I know you've come up with those kind of teething problems where maybe like that succession planning that you've had to do a bit later on. So I don't. Is it worth it?
To the very first conversation about what you've got to set it up with the end in mind. We didn't do that 30 years ago. But if you're going to start today, you have to start with the end in mind and decide whether you're going to be that one-man band, successful broker. A good one-man band in this environment should generate 200 grand a year.
Yeah. Okay, and they got less than no overheads, have they?
They should. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't. On what planet is that not a very healthy level of income?
No.
It's a great lifestyle.
I don't. You say that though, Martin. There are a lot of, and I'm really shocked by this as well. If you look at the average broker in this country, what they write, it is shit. And I know we don't see this people. And I'm sorry to say that. I was looking at it's around like 60, 70k. So you're thinking you're giving a bit to your network, and then you've obviously got your guys that are doing your £1 million, but there's such a low bar of that, like bottom 20% of the market who are writing next to no business.
Well, again, a lot of that is my generation as well. That we created.
Well, they just made their money,
or not made the money. That's the problem. You know, they haven't made enough money, so they can't go with it. So the answer to the original question is the best way to set up a business is to do it that at some point you become the least important person in that business.
That's so hard.
It is.
Because we build a business around us, because we're the business at the beginning, aren't we? I've always said this, like my business is unsellable because the bottleneck is me, because I bring in the business.
Absolutely.
And I can try and change that, and I've tried it in the past and it hasn't worked. So you kind of have to not start again, but it's I wish someone would kind of explain that to me.
If I didn't go into the office for a month, everything works.
Yeah, but you never go in the office. That's very, very different. You run a very
But colloquially speaking, if I just said, look, I'm taking a month off.
Yeah.
Nothing needs to change in the business. Okay.
No, that's a well set up business, isn't it? But then you spent a long time doing that as well. You've got people you trust who've been with you for 12,
so you have to have the right people around you. You have to have a very fair system for everyone, so that they think it's fair to them, but it also has to be fair to the business. It's got to be efficient. I think the risk that a lot of people do is the reason why we have these peaks and troughs in the industry is because people haven't got enough money in the bank.
Yeah.
And that's socially one of the reasons why we struggle as a society. It's not our level of debt; it's our level of savings. It's so poor. We can sustain the debt, but we've got nothing behind that. And it's the same in business. So again, 2008, the plan really should have been to make sure everyone's got enough money in the business to accommodate a COVID, trust and anything else that might be out there. Otherwise, you end up with that horrible feeling.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I don't think you don't see loads of brokers driving around in Ferraris. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going out being frivolous with their money. I just don't think there's been a long time where there hasn't been loads of money in it.
I don't know. I can't speak for other people, but
and you live in a shed. It's very different. You save all your money, live in a shed, and get to work on your barge.
I consider myself a fairly average broker. I don't mean that the work that I do is average, but I'm an average broker in the same way that anyone that's been around for 25 years classes themselves as an average broker. Knows that.
I think you're massively underselling it there, because I know average. I also know what you make as a, we have these conversations. You are a well-run business. You'll be surprised at how far up the scale you are of that, of average brokers, because there are so many below par with not the money you've got, or not the successes, or they're not the people they can trust. It's there's not many businesses like that.
Marcus, if we had this conversation 25 years time, you will be a success. It's the 10,000 hours of
you just have to,
make you the expert. And as you go along,
25 years time, hopefully I won't be having this conversation with you. Hopefully I'll be sat on a beach.
I guarantee you we'll be doing our third one in 25 years time, and I'll be saying the same old rubbish.
I'll still be doing the podcast.
We still have the same teething problems trying to get online. Nothing will change.
Yeah, no, it'll be a hologram then, and I'll be like, why is your hologram not working? I can't hear you. That's our conversation about mortgages. What I want to talk to you about as well, I mean, we'll go back to mortgages. Obviously, that's what people are here. But I want to talk to you about your book, and genuinely, tell me about it. Tell me about how that came around. We haven't had, and genuinely, I consider you a friend of mine. We have not had that conversation really about how it came about. You've been kind of been quite coy with it, but it's good. It's good. Tell me about it.
What I quite like to do, Marcus, is appear slowly in someone's periphery vision when they least expect it. I get a great amount of joy.
The T-Rex in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than just sort of lean in, rather than be a person in your face and people kind of can second guess you and predict you. That's never really been me. I quite like, if people want to have an image of me, that's great. As you said, like a hologram. And there are a lot of people that will think that that's all I am. And I'll probably make the same mistake with other people in the industry. We're very quick to judge other people.
I don't want to keep jumping in. I do want to talk about this book. Can I just say that about people, what people assume you are like? Because you joke, right? You joke, but that's your persona. It's a jokey thing. Yeah. You are very, very helpful. If I speak to you, I mean, obviously you helped me massively, even though you won't admit it, from the very beginning. Even like the podcast, it came up with an idea and you said, do it, go on it. I'll try and get you some guests. That kind of thing, but people don't really see that side. They'd see you telling people to shut up about wasting like their PTs. I'm reading about it. I spoke to co-brokers the other day, and they said, "Do you know Martin Stewart? We met him the other day, and he's a lovely guy." I said, "Yeah, I've known him for fucking years. Of course he is. Why are you so surprised? You've always known him."
That's not interesting, is it? When people are nice, that's not the world we live in. Right? They want to be they want to. It's got to be edgy. It's got to be salty. It's got to be challenging. And,
you're just clickbait, basically. That's what it is.
Say again.
You're just clickbait. That's what it is. You're good at
Absolutely,
riling people up.
I absolutely love that, Marcus. So going back to the book, it's one of those things that someone said to me, I think it was Briggsley actually the other day, he said, why did you write a book? And instinctively the answer is that I don't want to be defined by mortgages, ultimately. I don't think that's the reason why I was on this planet.
Yeah.
Is to have a tombstone that says, he broke a few mortgages. Nah, there has to be more. Existentially, there has to be more. So that was always at the back of my mind for a number of years, that to do something creative, because also the job is boring. We talked about compliance, we talked about process, talked about structure. It is boring. And because I do it, I've done it for so long. And this goes for all the great people out there, whether it's Monty or Lee Karasavis, Rob Purdy, Morgan Stew. We've done 20, 25 years. It's very hard for us to get out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
We're in our comfort zone all the time now.
Yeah.
I spoke to a client yesterday, within 30 seconds of a conversation, I know exactly what's going to happen. Just because of experience. That's all. So doing something that gets me out of that comfort zone was really important. Otherwise, I've just got to be drifting and festering away. And then we had that lockdown in 2000, which is probably when we first kind of met. And I thought, I saw people baking sourdough bread, people were going for romantic walks to the Tip and B&Q because that's all that was open. People were learning Mandarin. People were going, they were setting themselves challenges.
I was getting really drunk.
Yeah, well, I was gorging Haribo. I'm not lying. But I used that lockdown as that opportunity, with all those hours stretching out in front of us, to think, if you don't sit down and have a go at this now, Martin, bearing in mind I've been thinking about it for 25 years, when am I going to do it?
Have you always wanted, I was going to say, have you always wanted to? You always thought that's in you? Did you have the story in you already?
Well, 80% of people think they can write a book. 80% of people think there's a book in them. And there probably is. But only 3% of those people go around and get around to actually doing it.
Yeah.
Because they get busy at work, they get home, they go out, it's social, you've got kids, you've got family, you've got bills to pay. There's always something else to do other than that thing that really wants to drive you on. So all I did was use that lockdown, Marcus, to sit down and bang out a story over a few months, which then took 4 years to perfect. So this is not an easy. This was not an easy process. This is why I found it very challenging to get out of that comfort zone, because
it's hard.
The equivalent would be saying to J.K. Rowling, "You've got to set up a mortgage brokerage tomorrow, right? And no one's going to help you, J.K. You're on your own." She wouldn't have a clue what to do.
Yeah, no. So there's loads of going back and forth. Like even like getting published and stuff. Like I wouldn't even know where to start. Most people wouldn't know where to start.
Well, I didn't know.
Apart from my amazing ebook that everyone can find, and I've abused your book by using it to sell mine.
Yeah, you're
mine was 7 pages long, and there's a lot of pictures in it. I'll be honest with
you. When you get around to writing your book, and you should do, I just know that the lead character is going to be called Marcus.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's so egocentric. It's going to be
no, definitely. I think I'm the lead character and everything. Yeah, everything's moving around me.
But what I say to people, because some people have asked me about, how do you write a book? What do you do? And the answer is, I can't tell anyone how to write a book, but I can certainly help people because I know how not to write a book, and that is just as important. Yeah, I think. So,
did you have a structure before? Have you ever come from that background where you understand obviously you read, right? So you got that, you understand the structure of a book, but is there way more to it than you thought?
Way more to it, absolutely way more to it. The secret to writing isn't that first. The secret to writing is editing. Okay.
Right.
So I think over the course of the 3 or 4 years, I've probably edited 1 million words.
Really?
Of the story.
I feel like that's what I would do. I'd just write so much it would bore the tits off of people because I'd just try and explain everything to the nth degree, like the when I talk.
One of my early drafts had 115,000 words in it, because you make that amateurish author mistake of more words must mean it's better.
And also because you're setting the scene, you can see it in your head, can't you? You're trying to get it out as much as possible. Actually, you're probably over. People have got an imagination. It's fine.
There's a thing called purple prose, which a lot of people fall down the rabbit hole of, where you begin to use 700 or 800 words to describe a deck chair. You know, it's just really granular Hemingway kind of material, which is great if you're Hemingway. If you're a mortgage broker, it doesn't really work.
Put deck chair. People know what it is, and they can imagine.
Just to exaggerate that point, so less is more. Ultimately, the final version had 35,000 less words in than one of the earlier versions. But without
so you cut down nearly like 30% of the book, but you still got the same storyline in.
Same storyline, which editing is a skill. It is a skill. And also letting go, for business analogy, a bit like brokers, let go, things will improve. There is a risk. So I worked with a number of editors over the course of 3 or 4 years. And because writing is very personal, if you use a friend as a beta reader to give you advice, oh, that's really good. Yeah, because they think that's what your ego wants to hear. And you're better off actually speaking to someone that's got no emotional attachment to you, but can see the story for what it is in black and white and go, that doesn't work.
Yeah, because even if you gave it to me before, I still think if it was average, I think this is bloody amazing that you've even got this on paper. So in your head, you've already subconsciously told yourself, this is great because well done you. And actually, you're not.
I think I've read 1,000 books in my life. I was always a reader from an early age, just read. And the naivety is that the author just goes, once upon a time, and then there's the end, and you get a complete. It's not. It's the failure along the way. J.K. Rowling was rejected from 11 publishing houses.
That is nuts, isn't it?
She's a billionaire now. That said, there are probably authors who are in the graveyard who had a better idea for a book than J.K. Rowling. Didn't get the break. Yeah,
it's like anything, isn't it? Whether you're a great sportsman, great author or something, there's an element of luck of it catching on and getting out there.
Totally. And then also, this is where I am now with the book. Writing the book was easier than trying to sell the book.
Why don't you like that? Because you've done something really good. I don't understand. Like I've seen you haven't really done much posting on it and stuff. I think I know you don't like to. I know you don't like to like peacock, but it's a good thing. Yeah, people like success as well. Like no one's there to go, oh, will you shut up about that?
It was a soft launch, okay, and there's a reason for that. Is that when you look at something for so long, you stop seeing the mistakes.
You're blind to it, yeah.
You're blind to it. You get word blindness. So it was a soft launch. Put it out there. I know you've read it, and there's a couple of other people reading it, and 2 or 3 people have spotted a couple of small continuity errors or a slight contradiction. With print on demand, which is basically what Amazon is, basically a printer in the office that if you want to change a Word document, you can do, and it'll print out a new video tomorrow. I can go back in, access the master files, change the error. And the next book that comes out and is ordered is a brand new version.
Oh, I should have waited, shouldn't I? I should have got the good book at the end after everyone's found all the problems.
You've got the flawed one, and people like flawed stuff.
I've got the first issue. That's the one when you pop your clogs. That's the one that I make the money on, isn't it?
I'll sign it for you. So I needed to just make sure that I didn't go too big too soon, and then 500 people go, oh, but that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Whereas
so when is the big one then? When have we got the finished?
This is it now. So yesterday I sent a press release out that must have gone out to about 400 or 500 publishing houses, book bloggers, editors, what's the word?
I didn't get one.
Newspaper. Anyone that's connected with publishing, I've sent a press release out to that. Next week I'll start that ramping up, and you will see more of it on LinkedIn because I do want to sell this. I do want to sell it.
And you're proud of it, right?
Very much so, Marcus. More than anything else I've been proud of, probably including my family.
Don't tell your son that, will you?
No, of course not. I don't
think he watches this.
I'm immensely proud of it because it was me out of my comfort zone trying to do something. I think it's got a degree of credibility about it. I don't think it's an embarrassing Janet Meets John story. You've read it. You didn't think it was too bad.
No, I love it. That's really good. And I don't read fiction, so getting me to sit down for long enough is hard enough.
Yeah.
But no, I was just really impressed as well, because you're reading it thinking, you fucking did this. Like, it's really, you know what I mean? I just think it's very, very clever.
The creative process is interesting, and we lose that in our job. The only creative process we really have in our job is to create a business. That's it. But writing a book is a creative process, a bit like when Monty does his records, and Chris Smith at Platform does paintings, and it's great.
Yeah.
I'm saying that we're just people that happen to do mortgages.
Yeah, I mean, you're naturally creative anyway, though, right? You've always you tell you how to comedy and stuff. It's like you like that.
I think we're all creative people.
I'm not.
Forget you are. This podcast, you've created this podcast. You've created a great business. You've created a great presence on LinkedIn. Okay, more so than probably 98% of other people that I know on LinkedIn. I see all your posts.
99, but yeah, appreciate it.
I know. Yeah, I was the other 1%.
Yeah. They've cheated as well. Got some fancy videographers.
Everyone is a creative person. What we forget, and it's a very well-trodden soundbite, is we forget how to be kids.
Yeah.
You look at kids play and how creative they are and the stuff they come up with, and then we get older, we get relationships, we get jobs, we get bills, we get out.
It's that comfort zone thing again, isn't it? You do the same thing every day.
Boring people, and then we become that older person sat in an armchair in a care home going, God, I wish I had my time again.
Yeah.
Well, this is my attempt at trying to do it now.
Nice. And if someone is looking to do, maybe not write a book, but just get out of their comfort zone. I know it's really obvious to go just do it, but there's got to be a starting point for you, right? Where you actually went, right, I know obviously you had a life 6 months sat in your house, so it's a different time, but is there anything you can recommend to people? And it's the same as like starting a business or doing anything, like you say, like the actual out of your comfort zone, anything that you did that you went, do you know what, that'll work for other people.
It's commitment. That's all it is. You either commit to it or you don't. And whether that is a career, whether that is starting a business or writing a book, or Jamie Pritchard as well as another one with his DJing, very creative person, come up with songs, and he's actually a good singer as well, Jamie. Is he?
Yeah, don't ever ask him to, but Welsh, isn't he?
I've never got close to him. I'll take your word for it.
And his wife is an incredible singer, so I wouldn't want to be in their house on a Sunday with all that bloody Sound of Music nonsense.
What was I saying then, before I started thinking about Julie Andrews?
Creative people.
So commit to it. Just commit to it. If you do not, as we said at the very start, there'll never be a perfect time. There'll always be something else that comes along that stops you doing it. And
were you nervous about like the naysayers? Were you nervous that people you just liked it, like you think that's, like you said, like it's not embarrassing, it's good? Because it's the same as people won't want to post on LinkedIn because they just going that it's going to affect,
because of who I am and that Marmite nature of people prejudging us all, and we're all guilty of that. I am quite exposed by this because people will expect a certain thing. My friend's just read it, and he's a very critical individual, and he said, I wasn't expecting that, which is exactly the reaction I wanted.
Yeah.
I don't want you to read that and get in what you thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
That would have been a failure from my point of view. So I don't mind rejection. I don't mind poor reviews because you can learn from them. I'd be disappointed with a poor review just because someone doesn't like me. I don't see the point of doing that. Review it negatively.
Don't talk to me about the bloody 1-star reviews. I've got 2 and I've never met the guys. I don't know who they are. I can't find them.
And there are people out there that would resent you doing something and review you accordingly, even if there's no substance or truth to that. So I don't mind rejection, I don't mind failure. I don't mind people telling me what they think, so long as it's all justified. Don't just do it because you don't like me. There's no point doing that. Just keep your mouth shut.
Do you know what? You haven't got one of those personas where people don't like you. You genuinely, I just think that you like to rub people up the wrong. But I get, like, if you don't get it, I understand. It's the same as there's other people on LinkedIn where people will go, "Oh, do you actually know that guy?" So yeah, I do, and they're like, is he a knobhead in real life? Not, this is not about you. And I go, no, they're great guys. It's a funny thing. They're taking the piss out of themselves. If you can't see it, but I spend my life not being serious and take the piss out of myself. So I'd see that straight away, that people are being funny. If you're quite a serious person, you look at other people and go, oh, well, that, you know, they're being mean. You're like, you're not. You don't get it. Like you're not on the same wavelength.
I'm a serious person, Marcus, in as much that I care about the industry, I care about the consumer, I care about our lending partners. I want a good, positive, proactive, professional industry, but I don't mind using a bit of humour to call out those outliers that just stand out like red flags to us.
We always say that about, like, we're so serious about our jobs, but we can't take ourselves too seriously because it's too hard. You can't, like, you see.
You have to be able to have. I mean, one thing that we do at London Money is we'll have a laugh. By the end of the day, doesn't matter how hard it's been, we'll have gone away thinking we've had a laugh today, and we'll start again tomorrow.
Do you know that Harvard research shows that you're 15% more productive if you've got a funny manager? If your manager can make you laugh. That's why you're not naked walking around the office.
Only 15%.
Yeah, but you are more productive when you're fun. Like, it's hard when it's hard, isn't it? And the business as a whole is too difficult if you're serious all the time. You need
a release. You've got to have that release. Maybe writing that book was a release from 20 years of continual Groundhog Day scenario situation.
The grind.
The grind. That I had to go and find somewhere to sit in my head and find another space. And I think a really good story has come out of that exercise, and it's given me the belief that, all right, it's not going to win the Booker Prize. I'm not going to be held in high esteem like George Orwell. It's not that kind of book, Marcus. But also, it's not Nadine Dorries. You know, it's not a David Walliams ghosted book. It's not
a good book.
Biography. So it's probably going to sit somewhere in between, but it will give me enough encouragement to have another go and do another one.
I was going to say, you're going to have another crack?
Yeah, why not? What's the
point?
point?
Do you enjoy it that much? Like a labour of love, or you actually enjoyed it to the point where you go, I could do this, like I just enjoy...
I hated it and loved it in equal fashion throughout on a daily basis, like we do about life. Job. Yeah, it was what I'm saying. I love this, I hate this, I love this, I hate... But writing the book had the same... roller coaster of emotions, that sometimes you have a really good day like you do at work, and then sometimes you have a really bad day. And so writing, you can just go, you can look at a blank bit of paper and there's nothing there, and then another day you can't stop writing.
That's amazing. You know what, funny enough, there's a guy, I was stood up on the train home last night after like a 14-hour day. I was talking to this bloke about what I do, and he goes, you love your job, don't you? And I was like, he goes, how long have you been doing this? So I said 15 years, and he went, bloody hell, stood up on the train for 15 years. And I said, I love it. I'm really, really lucky to do something that I love. Because I had meetings all day yesterday, and they were all about new business, and I'm good at explaining what people need to do in the next step. So if you find something that you really enjoy, why not? Like, it's a blessing that you get to do something you enjoy.
Absolutely embrace it. So there will be another one at some point.
Nice.
And the second one will be a lot easier from my point of view, because I won't be doing all those mistakes that I did.
It won't be 200,000 words at the beginning. You'll knock it down.
I know exactly now. So now I do know how to write a book. And the next one will be a lot more efficient. It'll be cleaner, and it won't need quite so many rewrites. And I know how to publish it. So I'm quite excited by that. So that's
that's a cool life skill, isn't it?
It's a what? Cool.
Oh, sorry, I said it's a cool life skill. I know how to write a book. I don't know how to do many things that are cool. Writing a book is cool.
Just interestingly, just to get it back to mortgages, because we have to. In this process was, it made me realise that mortgage brokers will never be out of work.
Yeah.
Okay, because I had to do something I've never done before, and if someone could have helped me do it, I'd have paid them good money.
You'd have paid them. Yeah.
And that really is what mortgage broking is. We'll never be out of work because we know exactly how the system works, the process works, what's involved, all the dimensions. We know where the landmines are. So when people come to us, we look confident and we go, don't worry, we've got this, because we have.
Got it. Yeah. Do you know, I had this conversation with someone yesterday. Funny enough, it was about tech in lending rather than tech in broking. But I said it's the same problem is that we got all those amazing fintech businesses 10 years ago that were going to wipe you all out, and what they realised is what they actually need to make that fintech work is 50 brokers sat in a room selling the fucking mortgages because the AI couldn't do it, because a mortgage is not vanilla and it's emotionally led and it is too hard. And I mean, obviously that AI is worse it's ever going to be, right? It's always going to get better. There are going to be parts of our business that we don't get to do, but the emotional and the technical side of the business, I just think it's too tough, especially with like commercial and that level of things. You just don't get vanilla stuff anymore.
It doesn't exist. I wish it did, but it doesn't. But what brokers, if you can get in their mindset that all these things that keep happening to us and befalling us that are miserable, Brexit and credit crunches and Liz Truss, and every time that happens, we become more in demand with the consumer.
Yeah.
Because if our life is becoming complicated, their life is becoming complicated. So
good point.
For that reason, we'll never be able to.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I'd also think that going through these tough times as well, what is it, 15% of the industry we've lost? Although, interestingly enough, I couldn't tell you one good broker who's left. So I think that tells a story about the 15% of the people we lose when, obviously, people retire and that kind of thing, but the market got tough. Yeah, it was like one man back. Or like, you know, if you were selling 2 mortgages a month because it was a second income into the house, you know, and you got 200 of them in a business, it's great. But when you're selling 0.5 mortgages a month, it's not worth the slog.
But also, the networks have been cutting that low-hanging fruit away, I think.
As they should, right? The only way an industry gets better is by culling the bottom bit and making everyone work harder to stay in it.
A massive broker recession is the best thing that can happen to the good guys.
Yeah.
I've got busier over 25 years, not because I've got better, but because there's less people.
The other people fell by the wayside, yeah. Yeah, and good people aren't leaving, that's the thing. That's my point. When I saw that stat of 15% of the people leaving, I thought, I couldn't name one.
No, neither could I, because that's because we're probably hanging around with a good core,
good bunch,
community, and then they're unlikely to leave. And if they have left, they probably were persona non grata in many respects, without being too disrespectful to them.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Less brokers equals more money.
Yeah. Yeah, but just less but better, right? They need to keep getting better.
Yes, and that's time in the market. Don't time the market, time in the market. Brokers are great today because they've just stuck at it.
Yeah.
Didn't leave when it got tough. Carried on, doubled down, hung on in there.
You know, I do think that I've been saying to people before, we are brilliant in what we do, but one, it's a really low bar because there's so many shit people who don't care, and two, just been doing it ages. Like, I've been doing it so long that I'm good at it. I understand your business because I did that for someone else for 10 years. So it's so much easier to sell this concept. But it's not like, I'm not a super recruiter. I've just done it. I've done it and I know the cock-ups. The thing they say to me, I'm like, I know what you're going to say next. And it's like, it doesn't work. And it's being able to be a consultant rather than just be an order taker is a difference maker.
And that's why I think imposter syndrome is so real for everybody.
Yeah.
Because that is the end result of that. I've just done it a long time, and we don't feel like we've necessarily become better people, just more experience. And then you think, well, am I a grifter? Am I just weak? I think everybody, it's not just mortgage broking, it could be any sector in the economy. Everyone's got imposter syndrome because they've all gone on that same journey that we've been on, and they've just stuck at it, and they've become very good, and they get paid lots of money, and they're questioning whether they deserve it.
I do get that now. Like if I'm sat in a boardroom in a lender and they're asking me questions about what they should do next, and I'm thinking like, am I really fucking qualified to give this advice? Like I am qualified for experience, right? Because I've seen that so and so's done it. It worked really well, and they've done this, and this is what they do. But yeah, you do get that kind of. You're sat there going, is this? Am I supposed to be here?
Well, I get that, Marcus. I get that. I can sit down with a guy that earns £2 million a year, and he goes, "What should I do?" And I go, "You do this." And you go, "All right, I'll do that then." And I'm going, but the confidence. It's the confidence, isn't it? You know, you are there for a reason, and you don't feel out of your comfort zone in that meeting.
No,
I don't get intimidated. I used to get intimidated many years ago when there was a high earner there, but then you become a high earner yourself. You become successful. yourself and experienced. And just because they might be in a different field to you, doesn't mean to say they're not going to sit there and listen to your opinion and then respect it.
Yeah. And the bit that you're talking about, you do actually know more than them about it. Doesn't matter what they do in their field, they're fantastic. But they don't know about recruitment like I do, but they are amazing at lending out money. But
you only have to be an expert in a very narrow channel to do well.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. So, as I always do, I said it would be half an hour, and we're at 50 minutes. And we're actually, between everyone else, we're at an hour and 50 minutes because we cocked up the recordings. I will put the link and everything. I know you will start putting out now, but I will put the link and everything for your book and obviously your socials for people to get in contact with you. But
I would appreciate that.
If people want to speak to you, what's the best way of getting in contact with you? Not your folks, and never answer it to me.
Fax me.
Yeah, fax you, carrier pigeon.
Yeah.
You're still on the same smoke signals, yeah?
Just a traditional letter. No, I'm, you know where I am, Marcus. I'm on LinkedIn. Anyone can send me a message on LinkedIn. People do. Most of them I ignore because they're trying to sell me some payment plan or a funeral plan or something like that.
Recruiters.
They can get me on LinkedIn or on Twitter at London Money FS. My email address is online. It's on the website. You can always give me a call either about mortgage broking and any help there, and I speak to anyone if I can. And
can I just jump in and say you genuinely do as well? You genuinely
doing it.
I'm assuming you love doing it because you do it a lot, but you genuinely you help people. You've helped a lot of brokers that I know when they started out, and become friends with you through that kind of that advice you've given. So you are, despite the fact that you love people to think you're a knobhead, you actually are very good for the market.
The next thing you'll see from me on LinkedIn will be me being a knobhead. So,
yeah, exactly, yeah, because I've just done this to you now, and you feel like you've got to cut that back, yeah.
No, I'm not. I'll probably have to double down now. Or if anyone thinks they want to write a book, don't know how to do it, ask me.
Yeah.
There will be people that have got a great idea for a book that's way better than mine, and they're probably going to be better writers than me, but don't know what to do.
Yeah. Good. Amazing. Well, like I said, all your socials will be on ours, but it's been amazing as always, and thank you tremendously. I mean this, that you helped me at the beginning. You were my first podcast, and I was really shocked that people would come on it because you were the first person to say, yeah, of course, people will do it, and that's why. And so I actually have had a couple of no's in it 2 years. But I was so shocked when I first got it because I just assumed, well, Martin said yes, and then he got other people to say yes.
That's our personality. It's very. I think it's Richard Branson who said, whenever you get an opportunity, just say yeah, and we'll work it out later on. Just say yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. I genuinely appreciate it. It's been great having you on. I hope everyone has enjoyed it. Thank you everyone for listening on Spotify and watching on YouTube. It's been another episode of NRG Insights. Cheers, Martin. Speak to you soon.
Okay.